is episode 83. It's the follow-on conversation from episode 82 where I was talking with John Flaherty about the simplicity of life, love, the sweet innocence of children, and so much more. I absolutely love what you've sort of spoken about in terms of supporting children to be themselves and like uncovering their inner knowing. Earlier, when we met with Carl on the Moment show, the half an hour chat show, you were talking about touching connections as well. You know, so what I hear about Molly-Anna is that she is still in that connection, or she's connected to something. You know, she's, you know, talking about fairies and how do you reconnect when you get disconnected, and how can you help that connection continue?
Okay. Yes. Well, both children still have, Aiden less so because he's 15. Molly-Anna just turned 8, far more so. I do believe she still has a very clear remembrance of that God source from which she came. Right.
Oh wow.
Truly, as yet, untainted, unspoiled. It's there. Hence, jammed packed, right, with joy, singing, love of life. Right? You know, loves it, races around the place, goes up a tree, plays with the cat. Cat's all over Molly. Cat will race to the front door if Molly's coming. You know, there's this great hugging and kissing. It's terrific union with life. I love every aspect. Union. It does me good to see all of that because she hasn't forgotten to remember. The remembrance brought alive in that individual to take them back to what I call the norm of the creator, right? Back to square one, right? There was before ever there was a time when there was a struggle. There was a time when there was not. Before ever there was alcohol consumed or drug use used or gambling, etc., or excessive shopping or shopping and shoplifting for that matter as well, going on as a behavior. There was a time when there was not.
Yeah.
And we have to keep going back to that time because something happened along the way between coming into this world so absolutely connected like a soldering iron to our source, and then in time through experiences, through other people's expectations of us, demands of us, requirements of us to do life differently. Sadly, a lot of the integrity that Aiden's holding fast to at present, it begins to erode. Of course it does, or it can. We have to question it. We have to see where they came from. We have to see why. We take the person back to that place, restore, refresh, and reclaim the essence of that as much as possible, and question everything in life. And don't be so easily tied into somebody's expectation. Go find out for yourself. For Molly, find out the next word and its meaning. For Aiden, find out what next piece of music you would love to play on your guitar. If it's metal music, play metal music, right? If it's rock music, have a go at rock music. Would you like to learn the piano next? Sit at the keyboards and learn the piano. Great one, you know, so important. Let us all, can we not all just do that for ourselves? If we haven't been given the permission, and most of us haven't, we've got to discover, then I'll have to give it to myself. I have to give the permission to myself, knowing full well that that was my origin. That was my purpose from day one, to go and be an individuation of the divine, right? And a microcosm of the macrocosm that we call the expansion of this beautiful thing called life, which is just lifing us. But we have to do it, oddly enough, while being in the world, which is weird, and it has such expectations and pulls us in so many odd directions, but not be of it. And there's a trick in doing that, I believe.
Oh my goodness. I hope you'll be able to talk about that trick. I'm guessing a lot of these themes, like how do you, like if you were to work with somebody in a process, you know, like obviously you've been coaching people for many years throughout lots of very different difficult and unique situations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you enter into those relationships in the first place? Does it start as a conversation? Do you have a framework that you explore over weeks or months or years?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you lift the cover on things, or do you need to build trust first? I mean, what kind of order does it happen in?
I suppose I've always, and deliberately so, seen my approach to things somewhat different from a counselling approach. Not that I'm not well trained in just about all of those modalities and approaches, but it's not counselling. I don't believe that it requires a counselling. It does require an understanding, and it does require an inner standing. And by an understanding, okay, so mentally we get, even if it's not been our own experience, that the other being who's been brave, ready enough to open up something about their otherwise covered up life, maybe out of shame or guilt, and say, how do I move through this? I'm living something that I really don't want to be doing. And I have had enough of it. But how do I do it? And that's when an inner standing, I believe, has to really come into play. And by an inner standing does bypass the understanding that maybe counseling or approaches of that tend to stay on. And inner standing certainly doesn't have judgment about it. It doesn't have criticism about it. It listens very carefully, but it listens with the heart. I didn't have a clue how to do those things in my earlier years. So somehow or other, they have just come from me being prepared to go past fears and enter, courtesy of other people allowing me to, into their lives and finding out what has made this person's life and their journey through it so unique and quite different from my own. And yet we still have had the same origin, and life is still lifing us and expecting nothing of us, and yet still granting us its next breath without any judgment or any criticism. Then what is there to lose? I think somehow or other, even just the power of a presence made in someone else's company, and I do it online, like I'm speaking with you. I don't even have to be in the same room space as another. It's fantastic, just as you well know, how we can reach so many more people right across the face of the earth. And we are present. So that presence, it's got a power in itself. The inner standing, when we meet another person's inner standing, and we're prepared and not going to get upset or shocked or disturbed by anything that we hear from them that might bring an emotional reaction in ourselves. So keeping all of that well out of it, then there's an immediate rapport. In 9 times, if not 10 times out of 10, I generally don't have issues with connecting with people who are ready to literally bare their heart and soul if they feel comfortable enough to do that.
Yeah.
Now, I've got used to understanding just about everything there is to hear, because in my years as a Catholic priest, I heard hundreds and thousands probably of confessions, right, about everything under the sun from people,
That's kind of, if you don't mind interjecting.
Go ahead. Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing, really.
Yeah, and without alienating anyone that's listening to this, when I look back at what at my level of maturity when I was 24 or 30 and so on and so forth, I realized there were certain things I just couldn't possibly understand at that particular time. And so if you were coming out of your education and into the church at 24, I wonder, I wonder if you had the presence, the complete presence at that age to be able to witness and listen and understand those confessions.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot. It seems more like a grandfatherly role.
Yeah.
Or an elder role.
And, again, we've got to look at the mentality of a person going along for confession and to confess to this kind of unknown person, often enough just behind a screen or whatever. But But there's that desire at the same time from the person willing to do that, to shed, offload that which has really been burdensome or heavy. And what would I have been? Well, again, at that time, not only did I not have to give an enormous amount back, I was just there to allow that whole opening up from that person to take place, and left the rest to not me to forgive, but God's forgiveness. You're looking for God's understanding, God's reconnection. If you have for a moment felt disconnected, which I'm saying we can't really do, but if you have felt it, then it's as real could be until it isn't. So while that process going, of course, at 24, I didn't know much about life at all. No matter how much training, no matter how much preparation or whatever, too young. 24 is too young to know all of those things. But in time, really picking up on the everything that people would share. And really, actually, in the first place I was operating in my role, 5.5 hours in a week was set aside. It was an amazing place where Catholics would come out of the woodwork, wanting confession all of the time. I mean, odd, but so used to doing that. After a Saturday night, after 2 hours worth and an hour in the morning and an hour and a half the night before, and on the Tuesday evening sitting in the confession box, Saturday night, Louisa, for me, I was brain dead. I was brain dead. I used to watch a totally inane program like The Price is Right, and eat a little bit of Chinese food or something that I got from the takeaway, just kind of melting or coming back to some kind of normality again. Too much overload, and of course not ready. On the other hand, I know I'm speaking about that, but I didn't take any of those things lightly either, because it was a privileged place to be. And it is when I'm working with somebody today. They're not coming to me for confession, but they're coming to me saying, I'm stuck here. I'm stuck. I don't want to be stuck. And for me to use, and if it is the use of words, but it's not just words for the sake of it. I know you've got to put absolute conviction and empathy and honesty behind it, which I know I do for the individual who's been so ready to connect. Then that is really where the divine, I do believe, just takes over from there. It really does. So it's never about just John Flaherty, helping people through their addictions. It couldn't be that. But as long as I sit, even just for a few minutes prior to speaking with the person who's going to open up like that and think, right, whatever I've been doing, whatever's been occupying, whether it was great, whether it was testing, whether it was challenging, whatever, that was then and this is now. Right. Different place. Go back to my place, the norm of the Creator, my absolute connection with the divine. How could I go wrong? I'm going to be provided with the right words, the right timing, the right whatever, and the person themselves is going to suddenly find words, expressions, feelings, more importantly, that they didn't even know they had. And it happens, Louisa. I can't describe it in any other way. It just happens. Now, if that's the grace of God that we were referring to in the show earlier, that's beautiful then, isn't it? It's a beautiful thing. And it is a beautiful word. It's a one that I haven't used, but it's a handing over to that which is really so expansive, and it's a constant new reality. I love what you're doing. I can tell that you would have always had friends around you because you have a nice magnetic personality yourself. I can tell Carl has that. It's obvious. It's obvious. Now, why are you drawn to do the things that you do? Because you're empaths, right? Because you're feeling people, right? Because you do also believe that there are constant new realities, and you will be excited about this moment in time while you're still alive to see the world somewhat catching up with the life that I'm talking about. That's just lifing you. At present, they're very much at odds. We're having to be in the world, but not of it. I know I'm not of this world. I've never been of this world. I don't know where I came from, Mars probably, but I know that when you have that clarity, amazing things happen. That's it.
Yes. Boom, mic drop. That was that was perfect. How do you unpack everything that you share John. I mean, it's phenomenal. The last thing that really has kind of struck with me is there are two things that we've been talking about today. I guess the uncovery, recovery, discovery, the idea of how lots of us might be living in secret or, keeping things hidden.
We all do that, right? That's part of being what's called a human being, right?
Yes.
It just does it. It's habitual, right? It's a bit pathetic, but we believe ourselves to be all individual, so individual that somehow or other we're up against this thing called life, and so it happens.
Yes, that's true. We forget to remember that we have a divine connection, that we are that connection. And then, the idea of the children who, when left to their own devices, are able to be jam-packed with joy and live with great integrity and passion for life. And then the idea of you in confession, not confessing, but like listening and holding that space, giving people the space to discover themselves. And actually, that's the thing. I think that's the thread that I've noticed throughout this whole conversation, is that if we step out of the way and hold unconditional high regard for people, just give them the space, most likely we will find our way back, and it can help us to reconnect. A bit like there's a phrase that Carl says a lot, and I can't really remember it exactly, but something to the effect of medicine is what happens while the patient is healing themselves. It's a distraction. Sometimes we need a distraction for us to be able to kind of like pull ourselves back together. I do think we are able to do that, have those realizations ourselves. And of course, it's much more powerful when we're driving our own vehicle, but pulling in the right components, the right people, the right conversations at the right time. So I love that. This conversation has been amazing. And to answer your question, why do I do what I do? Which it's taken me a long time to realize what I do. But
I understand
why I do is because I spent a long time wondering who I was, and spent a long time feeling like I didn't fit in. Like, how do you have one foot in this world and have one foot in another reality? Because you're not really of this world, and like how and standing in two realities at the same time is really difficult. And I know earlier when we were talking with Carl, we were talking about way showers and people that experience the discontent or the confusion a bit earlier than other people. And I'm definitely one of those. But the fact that I've kind of found myself in a relative peace with it now, I want to help as many people that are suffering in that way.
Yes.
And I'm not claiming that I am the help, but I want to offer the space somehow. And that's why I do what I do. And that's how I met Carl.
Right.
Because he was doing the same.
That's how it happened.
In his way.
Yeah. And it's so and it's great to see you working. You can wonderfully and have done in an interview with me in the past on your own. But to see that happening as a couple too, that's a new reality for yourselves perhaps, and it may have seemed a bit daunting, and you'll have had to work at who does it better. I've done many a thing with my lovely wife over the years, and Louise. We used to run workshops of various kinds on all kinds of different subject matters, and people like that. They warm to that because we know each other so well that often enough, she would be saying different things and I would kind of finish off the sentence, and she didn't think that was rude. She would kind of do the same for me. It was just a constant, and people would be kind of thinking, which one's speaking? But it's okay. They can't get enough of it. Nice. Why not? Lovely. Because that's an energy, isn't it? It's a flow, and it had a truth and a realism coming through it. And I can see that about yourself. I think that what you're doing is wonderful. And there are a lot of people beginning to do wonderful things. And the real wonderful things are all about, there must be more. There must be more to me than I've so far thought there was. And there must be more to this life than I have as yet experienced. And as we do that, do you know what? It does happen. And the people do arrive, and the interest is shown, and the changes are made. And we do that part of that thing of restoring and refreshing and reclaiming. We restore a truth over a lie that we maybe held about ourselves.
Oh, wow.
We refresh, so much about what we thought we couldn't do. We re-look at it if we give ourselves that beautiful opportunity, and then we
Hang on.
reclaim. What do we? Okay, sorry. Am I going fast?
Can I just bring you up? No. Well, I was trying to make notes, and unfortunately, I've made so many notes. I actually need to change my page.
Okay.
So what I was thinking is
That's
maybe you
good.
could say the same again, but this time over your website. So this is your website.
Yeah, okay. Let's do it like
Isn't
that. Okay. So there are
it?
the 3 words right on the
So
front page
tell
of
me,
the
restore.
web.
So what can we be restoring about ourselves?
In a nutshell,
Yeah.
I would say this kind of, or much of what I may have said before. Whenever somebody says, "What did you just say there?" It'll always come out differently because it happens literally in the moment. However, it'll be something of a kind. You restore a truth about yourself and about life
Oh, that's so
over,
powerful.
over the lie that you perhaps were keeping in its place, right? A truth over a
Hang on.
falsehood, we'll call it like that. A
A
grandness
truth
over a
about yourself.
smallness.
A
It's any
truth
of
about
those
yourself.
things. It's always the bigger, though. It's always the more expansive. That's what you restore. Why? Because it's already there. Like little Molly Anna is showing us every day because she's still only 8 and she hasn't forgotten to remember it. So we have to do that. We keep restoring all the way back. Return to the norm of the creator, I call it, right? All the way back to, right, the essence. Refresh it because we have to keep refreshing it. I've done so many different types of work over the years. I've been to different countries doing it in different ways. I've met with all kinds of different people doing it. I've reinvented myself as I've gone along. And it's been sometimes daunting and scary, but you know what? It just happens. And more, I feel when I'm really allowing myself not to forget to remember. I forget to remember, Louisa. I do forget often to remember. But when I don't forget to remember, it's so refreshing, right? Because you're back into an enthusiasm, which I'm definitely sharing with you today. I can feel it in me. There's an enthusiasm to talk to you and to share with your audience anything that I have found to be really worthwhile and precious and valuable. Now, to refresh that, what is it? It's letting your spirit, isn't it? That thing we call the spirit, have its own freedom again in our lives, instead of keeping it again curtailed or hidden or embarrassed about it. And then if we get to do that, it is a reclaiming. It's a reclaiming. I've got another beautiful word in store, and it's the one that people are beginning to use more readily now. It's just sovereignty.
Oh, yeah.
I love the word. It's nothing to do in England with, monarchy and kings and queens. In fact, the exact opposite, right?
I was going to say, I think that's probably
the exact opposite direction. Okay. Don't get me on that one. Okay.
No, it's okay.
But the sovereignty, our own sovereignty, what is it? It's our essence. That's it. It's your essence. It's your soul. It's what you were actually born to really allow yourself through your restoring and your refreshing to reclaim, right? To be and to feel comfortable as could be in it, even if you seem as odd as could be to anybody or so different to anybody else. There are any number of people waiting to have you, Louisa, and me, John Flaherty, at some point in their life. Don't miss the opportunity of that. Don't keep yourself living small. I am also ready to invite whoever that is to come into mine. Don't put a bar in the way. Keep that sovereignty. It's a shared essence. It comes from the same norm of the creator. It's still connected to the same source of that which is sourcing everything. It's the divine. And we are divine.
Wow. That was phenomenal. That was absolutely phenomenal, John. Thank you so much. And if you've been listening to this and you want to have a look at John's website yourself, you can go to it is addictionunpluggedglobal.com.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it, Louisa. Yeah.
So
Listen,
incredible.
well, what a nice way to spend my Thursday, kind of midday time with your lovely self, and with all who might pick up on this little message, which of course is a pleasure for me to open up and to share. I mean, I'm sure you'll understand this. As you do that, as I've been doing that, do you not think I'm gifting myself the very same message at the same time? You know, it's a reminder, isn't it? It's a constant renewal of that which, if it's precious to another, well, guess what? I'm hearing my own words just kind of rebounding and coming back. That's when you know that you're connected.
Definitely. Yes. And your whole being is vibrating with the power of those words, the frequency of those words.
The frequency, that's a beautiful word too. That's again another word that we're getting better at understanding, where it's a frequency, it's an energy, it's a vibration. And, you know, of course, when you're stuck in the heaviness of depression, addictions, addictive behaviors, addictive mentalities of one kind, it is a very low, it's a sluggish energy. It's heavy, it's burdensome. Ill health resides there, depression resides there, darkness resides there, embarrassment, closing off resides there. So we need to speed up, come back to that absolute high place. I just use little Molly Anna as she's my best example.
She's your muse, isn't she?
She at this present is like God present in front of me all day, every day. And it's beautiful. So am I going to miss that? No. Am I going to encourage those two to take it into their adulthood as long as I'm alive? Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so very much for your presence. I really, really felt it. And you've helped me to really remember, in particular, to return to the norm of the creator.
Beautiful.
I'm feeding it back to you. In particular, to restore a truth about myself over a lie that I held in place. I'm going to refresh my enthusiasm, my spirit, allow it to have its own freedom once again, and reclaim my sovereignty and shine bright. Thank you so much for today, John. I can't possibly thank you enough. Wow.
Oh, brilliant, Louisa. Brilliant. I'm going to mention my my two little books just to finish off with.
Please do.
This one, Addiction Unplugged, How to Be Free. Okay,
Yes.
I wrote that one, more than 10 years ago. People at the time said, book way ahead of its time. Well, I tell you what, there are more people accessing it now as a result. But there were enough people accessing it then who were obviously ahead of other people. And that's always going to be the case. And then followed up with the other book, because they're very connected. And it's called Guilt Unplugged.
Perfect.
And Waking Up from the Lie We Live. It's available from Amazon, but also from the website in its various forms and in lots of different languages now. So
wow. And
people are ready.
I will make sure I put the links in the
okay, thanks, Louisa. Yeah, bless you. Take care.
Lots
again.
We will.
And love to you both. Keep doing the marvelous things that you are and enjoying every bit of it. Okay.
And to you and to Anne Louise too. Lots of love.
Thank you for that.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed our chat today. I'm feeling quite moistened in my eyes. The restore, refresh, reclaim words really struck a chord in me. I don't know if that is how it came out for you, but wishing you a day full of joy, remembrance of who you are, and that you're able to uncover, discover, recover all those aspects of yourself that you might have hidden away. Anyway, thanks for joining me here today, and join me another time when I take another bit of a deep dive into one of the guests on our Moment Show. Bye for now.
Present moment is where the magic happens.